Hi again, everybody. So, you're not, uh, you're not seeing things. We are back again, but this time, yeah. And it's not a repeat of the earlier paper, not a technical glitch. I have a new colleague to prove that point. So Ramya, manager Nielsen IQ Basis, is presenting this paper with me. So the title of our paper is The Metamorphosis of the Quantitative Researcher. So there was a time when if you were interested in getting a job in a market research agency and interviewed at one, you would invariably be asked whether your interest lay in qualitative research or quantitative research. It was pretty clear that if you weren't faced by numbers, had a logical bent of mind, felt greater comfort in looking at vast data tables and explaining everything using numerical data, quant was where you would fit in. All the exciting stuff related to decoding facial expressions, body language, voice tonality, visual stimuli fell in the realm of our qual sisterhood. But fast forward to the internet era. Technology now plays an increasingly significant role in market research, both in data collection as well as in analytical techniques. Little wonder then that the separation between the two streams of research, qualitative and quantitative, seems to be dissolving even further, making the case for the integrated researcher, who's as comfortable with answering questions related to the how and the why as she is with the what and the how many. The hitherto methods of dealing with unstructured data and visual and non-verbal information, which traditionally called for the strengths and the expertise of the qualitative researcher, are now being handled in quantitative research as well. Lateral thinking, reading body language, going beyond the data to connect the dots are now increasingly expected to be required skills in researchers of all hues. But I'll leave it to Ramya to explain this in a little more detail.
Thank you, Vidya. The moving a little bit away from the research, there are several situations where one can think of visuals and verbal data coming together and generating great of value when it comes to real life situations. Now, there are some that you see over here. One is when you go for interviews, followed by the resumes. You don't just base all your thinking or restrict yourself to the resumes. You also go ahead to interview a person. Another one such case is when you look at a link or a QR code which is coming through, and you have these DIY kind of instruction manuals where you look into them and you directly juxtapose the same thing. Similar, we have a couple of more that we have spoken about here. One is about the movies, where you actually get to visualize yourself and the narrative becomes much more clear and connected. And when we are talking about audio guides, when you're going into any kind of historical places and you have these audio guides which really show you, and you can actually, with the peace and the patience at your own convenience, you can go ahead and experience the place. Going to the new avatar of our qualitative research. When we are talking about this, there is a similarity in quantitative research as well that we are bringing in together. We have gone well beyond the interviewer. We have gone well beyond the interviewer administered researches or surveys. Now we are going into neuroscience, eye tracking, social media, analytics, facial coding, and analytical intelligence. And these are the ones which are changing the lay of the land at this point of time. We have seen that spontaneously there is a lot of data that is coming out through and which is helping us bridge the gap between the qualitative and the quantitative. There is one such method that we have used here, which is the video analytics. I'll let Amrita give more details on the same, she being the client on this one.
Thank you, Vidya and Ramya. So this project was absolutely, another very exciting challenge for us. So we had done the regular product concept test. We're obviously seeing good scores. Now it came the time for trialing the product with consumers and understanding the in-home experience, something which we always do before launching any of our innovations. So what was different about it? The difference was that we said, we will do the in-home product usage trial, but this would be an extended in-home product use. So normally you do it for 3 weeks or so. We said we would do an extended trial, and there would be 4 legs of the study. So when we say 4 legs, we were assessing how consumers experience the product, which is the restage versus the current, and then we were also doing a restage versus a comparative benchmark. So there were 4 different legs of usage that were there. Now obviously you typically tend to have about 300 odd consumers in every leg, and then what we wanted to do is across 6 different touch points, starting from how the consumer buys the product, how the consumer starts using the product, and the first experience of the use, the re-experience, which is the second use, and then an extended period of use over a certain period of time. So right from, I can say, the first phase of interaction, which we call as the first moment of truth, up till the second, the third moment, and the ultimate moment of truth, we were actually recording the quantitative data. So what that means, as we said, there were 4 legs of the study. There were about 300 respondents. There were 6 different touch points with the consumers when they reused the data, and the products. And then we were assessing this across 20 different product attributes. So when I say 20 different product attributes, obviously the basics are included, which includes, how does the functionality of the product be, how is the packaging, how is the dosing mechanism, how are the instructions, each and every aspect, all the functional aspects as well. So because this study was so dynamic and so detailed, we obviously had the quantitative, product usage test, which would give us all the results. But then, as Ramya was explaining, we felt it was not enough. And therefore we said, we need to add the video analytics, because this would then become a superb combination of a UNA along with a product usage test. And that was possible to capture with that combination of qual and quant.
So the study was done door to door amongst a target audience that owned washing machines and used premium laundry detergents. As in every concept product test, it was a 2-stage study. So in stage 1, we exposed the concept and captured reactions to it, followed by the second phase where we actually placed the product, and then we went back after 2 weeks to obtain their reactions to the product. So it was at the end of the product usage period that we also captured reactions on video with a subset of our respondents who had already used the product extensively. So besides reactions to the product itself, we also got a lot of information from the consumer on her general washing regimen, habits, the way her wash cycle actually transpired, and so on and so forth. What we're going to actually be sharing today in terms of data is actually the information coming from her general washing regimen, and not really her reactions to the product that was placed with her, for obvious reasons of confidentiality. Both voice and video analytics were possible on the video output that was obtained, but more about that a little later. We first take a look at what the quantitative survey-based data look like. And as I said, I've only looked at the washing regimen out here and a few snippets of information from there. So in about 2/3 of the household, we saw that clothes were soaked in water along with a laundry care product dissolved in it prior to wash. Only about half the consumers claimed to pre-treat clothes, that is, apply the laundry product on the clothes prior to washing. However, invariably, it was a universal habit to sort out clothes prior to wash, and usually the colored clothes and the whites were kept segregated. Stains on clothes was again universal. Practically everyone spoke about it, but only 13% actually used stain removers. Around 66% said that they soaked stained clothes in water plus detergent, and another equal number said that they pre-treated stains on clothes. So it looks like stubborn stains were removed by soaking in detergent or by scrubbing with the detergent, and not really by using stain removers. A third of the consumers also said that they have issues washing, dark clothes with lighter clothes, but they mostly resorted to segregating clothes prior to washing. Did washing damage clothes? Not really. But with repeated washing over time, they were worried about colors fading. Now let's move to what we actually got from the video analytics. Over to Ramya.
Thank you, Vidya. So when consumers, we looked through the videos, there was a lot of information, there was a feeling which was very confident about their detergents and their ability to remove the stains. But as they continued to speak about the issues and problems, they revealed that tough stains were hard to remove and required time and effort. Clothes on continuous washing did also get faded, damaged or frayed, and they had to deal with dark and light colored clothes separately, which meant they had to do a segregation as an additional step. Now a little bit from the videos, from the consumers.
मॉल से कपड़े लाए हैं और पहली बार धोना है तो अगर वो भिगो के रखूँगी तो वो जाते ही है, कितने भी अच्छे कपड़े हो गए तो भी थोड़ा सा कलर तो भी जाता ही है। तो जब वाइट कपड़े रहते हैं तो बार बार धोने के बाद वो थोड़ा सा कालापन रह जाता है उसके ऊपर
जाते ऑयल के दागे, हल्दी के दागे, वो वॉशिंग मशीन में डायरेक्ट वॉश करते हैं ना तो धुलते ही नहीं है। उसको पहले बार भिगोना पड़ता है, कपड़े को ब्रश भी मारना पड़ता है, फिर वॉशिंग मशीन में वापस धोना पड़ता है।
Now, when we are talking about the stains and what we actually got through from both the videos as well as the quantitative researches, there were stains which were universally a problem. We saw that in the quantitative as well as in the videos, especially on clothes used by children or by adults. Now, when it came to consumers who are actually talking about who all are experiencing those problems, it was not just about the kids, it was also about adults who were going into factories or such kind of rigorous work. They were continuously doing the consumers were tackling it by soaking them in hot water prior to using any kind of detergent onto them. And it seemed to be very satisfied with the results that were being obtained. Perhaps that explains why the stain removal kind of products are not really getting a lot of penetration. When it came to washing darker clothes with the lighter clothes, there was fair amount of consumers where they were seeing a lot of frustration coming through. It was the lighter clothes as well as darker clothes which had to be separated at all times. And people saw that when they were talking about any kind of poor quality clothes, or when they were talking about garments that were not branded, those were the places where they were finding these issues coming through. This was an additional thing which our quantitative did not kind of deep dive into, let's say. Then coming to the dark clothes and the lighter clothes, again the consumers, when they were talking about them, the separation was one big issue which increased the time and effort that they had to put into it. Newer clothes, they had to also go through the regime of putting into salt water, trying to make sure that they are well and can be used in the next wash cycle easily. Now a little bit onto what we are talking about, the use of AI. In the voice, when we are talking about the AI, silence is golden. But when we are adding more to it, in case of researchers, silence is not. The more you know your consumers, the more you are able to guide the clients in the right direction and be empathetic towards their needs. Now, when we are talking about any kind of voice AI or any kind of analytics in terms of videos, they can always be a gauge of someone when they are talking about a positive note, whether they are talking about a negative note. When they are happy, they are surprised, those are coming more as a positive feeling, and where they are talking about anything negative, they're usually sad or they're angry basically in those terms. And that is what we had with the videos. That is something that really helped, that helped us take beyond what was stuck only to numbers or to data. Now, in terms of advancements in AI, we have made it possible to detect and identify emotion-based voice analytics. We have worked together in collaboration with Entropic on voice and video analytics. The voice AI technology can process their voice tonality, and then it can give us a complete understanding in terms of whether what is the kind of confidence that the consumers are showing, what is the kind of, whether it's a positive, whether it's a neutral, whether it's a negative kind of note. Now over here, when we are talking about the voice analytics, there were three things that we tried to focus on. One was the confidence in the communication. The second was we looked at what all tags were being there, what were the words which were coming through and coming through frequently. And the third part was the sentiment of their conversation, whether they were going a little positive, whether they were going a little neutral, and what was the connect in each of them. When it came to our research, we saw that on the confidence level, we ensured that all the respondents were really high, and possibly because they knew the category very well. That's why they were able to really talk very confidently about everything. And we could see that every respondent was talking more positive and confident when they are talking about their stain removal experience. So that is where when they are easy with the regime, they understand the regime, and that's why it's a frequent thing which is ingrained. They had that connect, and that is why they were able to kind of go ahead and talk about what was their confidence in them. Now the other part was about the tags that were used. The videos are tagged by a lot of verbatims and the kind of note that they were using in their words. And in this process, we understood that segregation of clothes and treatment of clothes along with the process of washing, these were the frequent ones which are coming through. Moving ahead to what was the kind of analytics when it came to, So we saw how the consumers' videos, when they juxtapose the quantitative data along with the qualitative data or the videos, they obtained a concept product test and added much richness to the data. So the data by itself was speaking the same tone, but when we added the insights or the analytics that were coming from the videos, it gave us much more confidence in ingraining what was coming through. Going ahead, I'll pass it over to Amrita to speak about the limitations.
Yeah. So anything that you do for the first time, right, obviously there are going to be challenges. And this is something we tried and tested, like a product concept test with an HUT and video analytics for the first time. So we actually saw these limitations, but we call them as learnings. Because as we were describing the whole process, now just imagine, and you can do the math, if you have 300 consumers, 4 different legs of the study, and you had 6 different touch points with 20 different attributes. So 1,44,000 data points. So are we actually saying that we need to record 1,44,000 videos to support the entire quantitative matrix of the quantitative analysis? In the ideal world, yes, if you want to marry the qual and the quant, but obviously in the practical world, it's not possible. So these were some of the limitations which obviously will become more and more enhanced and improved when we do video analytics, which is the qual along with the quant. But the end outcome of actually this is certain key decisions. So on the limitation front, should we actually have all the touch points and all these data points? The second would be, how would the quality be? Because obviously this is video, it's not a quantitative data metric. So in terms of the voice, in terms of the emotion, in terms of the video quality, there's going to be a lot of variance. The third one would be, how would you end up analyzing? Imagine if you had 1,44,000 video clippings, how would you end up categorizing, analyzing, and correlating with the entire quantitative data metric, and then storing those, and then obviously when you have meetings and discussions, even retrieving those for the respective touch points. So if you had, how did the person open the pack? How did it happen? How did they use the product? Show me the repurchase, reuse. So obviously all of these questions, which are very easily found in the quantitative metrics, would be extremely difficult, and these are the challenges we need to overcome. So if we have to summarize in short, I think as we say in the whole working environment today, that there is more employee satisfaction with hybrid working. In the research world, if we combine the video analytics, which is qualitative, with the quantitative data, which is hybrid, I think it really gives you very good outcomes and a perfect understanding of every phase of the consumer journey across all the different moments of truth, so that we can come back with a holistic evaluation and do something like a usage and attitude along with a product concept and a usage test. Yeah? Thank you so much.